Okay.
Yes, let's go. This is Adam Carson and Easy Bird speaking. Hello, Adame.
Well, hello there. Good to
Nice to
see you.
meet you.
Good to see you too.
And our honored guest is Adam Carson. Today we are going to speak about many things. However, tell me, what subjects would you like to cover today from your own perspective? If you would share with us something about yourself, maybe even a little bit, introduce yourself and tell us which subject would you like to talk about today?
Sure. So, hello everyone once again. My name is Adam Carson. I teach communication skills and accent teaching as well, accent skills in English, so that you can more easily fall in love, effectively argue with your co-founders or others, or pitch your project in less than 2 minutes to investors or anyone else for that matter.
Yes, perfect. Thank you
So
for a
that's
nice
what I do.
introduction.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Nice,
Sorry,
nice.
go ahead.
So we will kick it off with the theme English and teaching accents.
Sure.
And I would like to add their accents of native speakers. Am I saying correctly or not?
Yes, well, I used to offer many more, but it turns out that everyone wants pretty much just sort of standard British, the way I'm talking right now, or standard American if I switch for a second. So that's the two everybody wants. Couple of times I showed people other accents. Um, Scottish is one of my favorite ones, but turns out nobody really wants that. So people always think about, oh, I have to speak right and grammatically correctly and things like that. And when I told them, well, listen, lads, it's more than about just sounding the right, they would be shocked and entertained, but then they would quickly switch to, okay, maybe let's do British or maybe let's do American. So it basically throughout the years it turned into just the two. Yeah.
I have prepared many questions. However, here is one question I didn't prepare for, which came to my mind now.
Mhm.
This is the European accent. What do you think about that? Is this the new third accent in the future coming up or not?
In what way?
I mean,
Like
my friend, she was a Natalia, and she was interested in a European accent, and she was always mentioning the word depurity in the in the Parliament, European Parliament. They are using the word depurity, which is the purity actually, and she was mentioning it because she was saying that new arises a new accent, which is a European accent for European speakers like French, English, uh, Dutch, people who are speaking European. Have you heard about this before or not?
not in any great detail. Not in any great detail, I should say. But I would say there are many European accents. I don't think there's one European accent.
Yes,
Um,
yes, we are right.
I
We are
I
right.
can see there. I mean, accents are always rising and disappearing, so that's the natural way of things. But I don't see quote unquote one European accent rising above the rest. I
Mhm, mhm.
don't see
So I
that
will
yet.
start. Okay, thank you very much, Adam, for the feedback. I will start with the first officer question. What do you consider the biggest challenge when you are teaching accents?
The biggest challenge, people's like, how would we call this? People's own limitations. I think a lot of people have ideas about it in their minds that can limit their progress or limit their potential, or even openness to that fact. So I think it's largely mental. I haven't met yet. I haven't met anyone yet who would like significantly struggle with the technical aspects of that. I think it's mostly the biggest challenge is to, you know, open yourself up to it.
Mhm.
There's a quote, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but essentially, I would tell people don't be so static, so ossified in who you are today that it would limit who you could become. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you. Perfect. And I will give you also the opportunity, Adame, to ask me if you need to anytime during this talk. You can feel free to ask me any question if you feel
Oh,
like it. Yes. And if not, I will just proceed with my questions.
Joe, I haven't prepared any questions, but if something comes to mind, I'll
Yes,
throw it.
just jump in anytime. My next question is concerning how do you teach? How do you teach accents actually? How do you do it? How do you work with your students?
If I answer that in a word for accents specifically, I would say the word movement. It's really, yeah, that's really what it is. It's movement. It's a set of behaviors that you need to learn. In fact, it's the same for accents as it is for languages and any language. The process is very, I think, simple, pretty well understood, which is, I always tell this to people. How did you learn your mother tongue? Right? Most people say something like, well, I don't really remember, but I just, had my parents and I talked to my parents. It's like, oh, all right, but before you could talk, how was that like? And the answer is something like, well, you kind of like stare at your parents and you try to like mimic what they're doing with their face, right? And it's a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of time, years. Children, I mean, they don't have a very great control over their fine motor skills at the beginning, but that's roughly speaking the process. Until you can sort of refine it well enough, then you can actually produce distinctive sounds. So that's a bit of a long-winded explanation of how I summarize that with movement, because you need to move your face in a certain way to like sound is a consequence of shape, what I like to say, right? So you need to learn to make the right shapes in order to produce the correct sounds. And that's true, I mean, even for something as simple as whistling. Can you whistle, by the way?
No, I don't do it so much. Not.
Oh, thank you for ruining my example here then. But let's imagine I wanted you to learn how to whistle.
Yes.
Then I would tell you simply, okay, so you have to make your lips or put your lips into this shape, right? And then blow. Right? There you go. You can try it. That's a great start. Now you need to calibrate how much you like squeeze the lips and kind of move it around. Basically, that trial and error until you find a spot where it produces the exact sound you want. Now, the discovery of that is usually the hardest part, or it takes the longest amount of time. Once you find that setup, it's repetition, it's drill, it's getting in and out of it. And the more you do it, the more you refine it, the easier it becomes. And if you do that enough, it transitions to what I call muscle memory. In other words, your muscles will automate that setup, and you won't even have to think about, is my upper lip correctly? Is my tongue correctly? No, it will just kind of become a one thing, and you go like, this is whistling, and your body can just do it. So again, that's the longer explanation. The simple one is movement is the key, my friend.
Thank you. Perfect. I have again your opportunity to ask me anything if you want to, and think about any question. And if not,
I can ask you, what do you think about it, and what's been your experience?
Yes, thank you very much, Adame, for this question. I wasn't prepared for this question, but I will try. We had a teacher from Newfoundland. This is in Canada. And he would teach us at the gymnasium. This is high school. a humanitarian high school in Czech Vyšehrad Gymnasium, and I was the only student who was really interested in his teachings. Yes, at that time I was sitting by the table with him and learning, and everybody else were doing their stuff. And he would teach me, for example, how to say the the, yes, these articles, and I would always spit when I would try it. I would be spitting. He would be trying to teach me correctly, and he would be also trying to teach me some kind of pronunciation like that. Nada means there is nothing, and things like that. I still remember things from him, and I used to go for lunch with him as well in my free time. So I learned a lot. So this was my Canadian teacher. Before I had an American teacher, Roger Dix, and he was from Alaska, Fairbanks. So he would teach me American English. And then later I had a Terry Cronin, British teacher, who was based under London in Tonbridge, and he would teach me British English. So I had these three teachers influenced my life. And I remember that Terry would be a working man, and he would be always saying, "We was in the mountains, we was in the mountains," and he was a worker the whole life, and he made mistakes during his speech, and this is how it was back then. I didn't realize it, and maybe I learned wrong, but I learned a lot from him, though, many things. So thank you for your question, and let's proceed. Sometimes when I watch your videos, I see there's some kind of influences from artificial intelligence. Does it help you? What do you think about these trends, these new trends? Is it good for you in your teachings?
Artificial intelligence, I mean, that's a huge topic. Depends on what you mean by that.
Yeah, when you let's look closer. Yes, let's limit it only to the teaching accents. Yes, using artificial intelligence teaching accents.
It's still pretty wide. Can it be helpful?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes, exactly.
I can see how it could be helpful. It's not helpful right now, but it could be helpful one day, I think. Yeah, I can see that. I'm thinking you're probably referencing one of my reels where it's basically a skit. For those of our viewers who haven't seen it, encourage you to do that, of course. Little plug-in there. It's basically a riff on a famous, at least for me, a famous scene from the TV show Friends. Have you seen Friends?
Yes, I have.
There's an episode where Joey is learning French from Phoebe, and it's very frustrating for Phoebe because, well, I'll show you what they do. So Phoebe goes like, "Okay, this is French, and you need to say Je m'appelle Claude," and Joey says "Flaplapli blue," and she gets frustrated, and so she breaks it down into syllables, and she's like, "No, Joey, it's like repeat after me." And sorry, they're American, so Joey, repeat after me, right? It's je, and Joey goes je, ma pelle. Great, just faster. Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. Mi poupou. Right. So, and they do this multiple times. So the joke is he could sort of do it syllable by syllable and slower, but as soon as he's supposed to say the whole sentence, he just comes up with nonsense, and that's the joke. So I play on that with my reel there. Of course, I don't have Phoebe, but I've created an AI avatar that services as my Joey. So I say a word like, I don't know, something crazy, anti-disestablishmentarianism. Maybe that's too long, so we can just say decade, right? And I go de, and the AI goes de, cade, decade, flum flam flem, and that's the AI making those mistakes. It's really fun. It obviously makes it easier for me because I can just do it immediately by myself, programmed with that avatar that I've created. So it's more entertainment value than the teaching value, because, as I mentioned, movement is really important here, and the AI can't really do it well.
I
So
see a great potential there in the
they're
future.
mapping some generic. I mean, they're not always that bad, but they're not good. They're mapping some generic movements onto sounds, and it just doesn't always match. Like, if you've ever seen a movie that's been dubbed, you can ignore it relatively easily if the mouth movements don't match the sounds. So it's not a huge problem from that standpoint of view. But if you were to like try and learn something from the AI animation, that wouldn't help.
Thank you very much, Adame. We are talking with Adam Carson here. My name is Jiří Borch. I would like to thank our audience for listening. Thank you very much. And in case that you have any questions, please write under this video. Adam will be happy to answer all the questions, even so am I. And now, due to my sitting problems, I'm forced to take a small break, maximum 1 minute. Please excuse me for 1 minute. And also refresh, get some oxygen to your brain. We'll be right back. And stay tuned. One minute is back, and I hope my guest is coming back as well.
I'm right here.
Perfect. Thank you, Adame. So tell us something about your future, please. What does the future hold from the professional perspective? What did you prepare for us? Where can we visit your works and see what you are doing? Invite us to your business, please.
Oh, sure. So obviously you can go to adamcarson.cz, which is my website. You can find a little bit about me, some of my products, establish cooperation perhaps. My workshop offer is there as well, because I do work with individuals and with companies on a larger scale as well. So I'll be very happy to see you there. I'm cooking up something that's very exciting to me. I haven't really started promoting it just yet, but I plan on publishing a self-paced course, really, that would teach you everything you need to know about your chosen accent, as well as, and perhaps this will be a separate course actually, communication skills. So I do work with a lot of businesses, with a lot of tech businesses, CEOs, as well as high management, usually, where people are more aware about the importance of their communication skills. So this is something that I'm very passionate about, because I've been so lucky through my work to get to know a bunch of very talented, rising stars, successful people. Quite a few of them are from Central Europe, from the Czech Republic, which is truly amazing, and they can be on the top of their field. They can be like really 10 out of 10. But I've noticed something throughout the years, which is you can be a 10 out of 10 in your technical skills, whether it's selling bananas or programming the new generation of software. But if your communication skills are at a 5, let's say, of 10, do you think others will perceive you as a 5 or a 10?
I think this is very important. Yes, communication skills, very important setup skill.
I totally agree, right? Like, I'm not saying at all that the technical skills are not important. They absolutely are, but they need to be paired with the ability to communicate that, right?
Yes,
Attractively and clearly. in order to basically sell and tell people why it's important. And I found so many of these super talented people in Central Europe that are really 10 out of 10, but that communication aspect of things, their communication skills are not on the same level. And I think it's a huge shame, because they could be just so much better globally speaking, right? And even if they're globally successful already, I always compare it to, there's a big gap between first place and the second place. And if you're in the first place, right, then everybody knows your brand, your household name. I say like Google, I say Coca-Cola, you immediately know, right? And you can have your own local farm produced, let's say, cola, which can be very good. Like, technically speaking, it could even be better than Coca-Cola. But from the business point of view, from the scale of the business and from the recognizability of the brand, it's just not on the same level. And I find that to be just frustrating and like a huge shame, because you're robbing the world of your expertise, of your gifts, right? And that's what I'm trying to help out with. Whether you're a startup or an individual, you have something to say, you have something to offer to the world. And I think it's a great shame if everything's in place, the quality is there, the customer happiness is there, everything's there, but nobody knows about you, or just very few people know about you. And that's something I'm constantly working on, and I'm very passionate about. And hopefully we'll be able to help many more companies to spread their wings, so to speak.
So let's do a small workshop now, very short, brief one. Let's imagine that this workshop is for the top board management or even the owners of the companies willing to improve in English their communication skills or wanting to. What would you teach them? Very briefly, just give one example, one sample.
All right. How much time do we have?
Let's say 1 minute only. It's very briefly. Yeah.
All right. So it will be more like a tip, really.
Yes.
Not a training. But the number one thing I'd say is contrast. Contrast more. No matter how much you're contrasting already, contrast more. That is a very, very powerful technique. It's inbuilt into the English language itself, but simply as a extrapolated communications technique, even for, let's say, Czech language or other languages, it is very powerful. Lots of people, lots of public speakers have difficulty working with, for instance, volume, right? If your volume is, between 1 and 10, most people speak around a 3, let's say. And when I kick it up, or when I push them to kick it up to 5, they're like, oh, I'm yelling so much. It's like uncomfortable. Like, no, you can go way, way more and play around with that. But even if you speak constantly at a pretty high rate of volume, very quickly you start switching off, right? And so contrast is the answer to that example, as well as many others. You don't want it to be monotone, because the human brain just switches off. And then it's no longer interesting. So you want to contrast your ideas, you want to contrast volume, you want to contrast speed, etc., etc., etc. So if we boil that down, contrast and to contrast would be my answer.
Thank you, Adam. Perfect.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Maybe one
so my last question
to that. When it comes to English,
yes,
as a language system, we do transfer the information through a pattern of contrast. So that's on the level of the language, not on the level of communication skills, let's say. But very common mistakes. I show this to people all the time. A lot of languages, a lot of European languages are what we call syllable timed, where every syllable needs to be the same, right? So you say Veronica, Veronica, Veronica. That's how you say the name. That's wrong in English. In English, you transfer that information through contrast. So you need to pick one syllable and make it louder, because that creates a bump, in contrast, and then you reduce the remaining syllables. So the same name would be Veronica. What that gives you is Veronica. Just quite different, right? Veronica, Veronica. Right? And so you need to learn to do this even on the level, simple level of the English language. And you'll be like miles ahead of everybody else. So contrast.
Nice example. Also, I would like to note, visit Adam's YouTube channel because it's great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I'm trying to make a big comeback. Probably it's going to take some time, but I was active on my YouTube channel for a number of years, and only recently I've decided to come back and try to make it better, stronger, become wiser in the process. So if you're inclined to get a little bit of English and accent acquisition, as well as business English and communication skills type content, I am publishing a lot of reels, and I have started working on long format videos. I released one already, and I hope to get better and better as we progress. Yeah.
Final takeaway message for our audience, Adam,
Final
if you
takeaway
want.
message.
If you want, just if you want.
If you want to be successful, you need to have a vision. You need to be able to communicate that vision attractively and clearly, bonus points for succinctly. And then you use that to put together a team to help you make that vision a reality.